ओके, हमने बात करी थी क्लाइमेटिक कंट्रोल्स के बारे में, ठीक है, जो कि क्या क्या इसमें फैक्टर्स हैं वो हमने बताया था, ठीक है। इसमें था लेटीट्यूड, अल्टीट्यूड, प्रेशर, विंड सिस्टम, डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम द सी एंड ओशियन करंट्स एंड रिलीफ फीचर्स। अब एक एक करके हम इसके बारे में बात कर लेते हैं। लेटीट्यूड के बारे में, अल्टीट्यूड के बारे में, प्रेशर के बारे में, विंड सिस्टम के बारे में, डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम सी के बारे में, ओशियन करंट के बारे में एंड रिलीफ फीचर्स के बारे में, ठीक है। तो पहला है ना लेटीट्यूड की बात है, ठीक है। क्या है? लेटीट्यूड, ठीक है। लेटीट्यूड, ओके। सो लेटीट्यूड क्या होता है? देखिए, द ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर पासेस थ्रू द मिडिल ऑफ द कंट्री फ्रॉम द रन ऑफ कच्छ in the west, Mizoram in east, almost half of the country lying south of the Tropic of Cancer, okay, belongs to the tropical area. All the remaining area north of the tropic lies in the subtropics. Therefore, India's climate has characteristics of tropical as well as the subtropical climate. मतलब अगर इंडिया की जो बात किया जाए इंडिया की, ठीक है, वो ट्रॉपिकल भी है और सब ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट्स के अंदर भी आता है, यानी कि ट्रॉपिकल, ठीक है, और सब ट्रॉपिकल भी है, सब ट्रॉपिकल, क्लियर है। ये दोनों के अंदर मतलब इंडिया लाई करता है, यानी कि इंडिया का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ये है, दोनों क्लाइमेट, ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट्स भी है और सब ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट्स के अंदर भी आता है। अब बात करते हैं अल्टीट्यूड की, इसकी अल्टीट्यूड। अब क्या होता है ये? अल्टीट्यूड, इंडिया हैज माउंटेन्स टू द नॉर्थ विच हैव एन एवरेज हाइट ऑफ 6000 meters. India also has a vast coastal area where the maximum elevation is 330 meters. The Himalayas prevent the cold winds from the Central Asia from entering the subcontinent. It is because of these mountains that this subcontinent experiences comparatively milder winters as compared to Central Asia. Okay, so this is how we can say altitude affect the climate. Okay, now next is pressure and winds. Pressure and winds. Pressure and winds. So pressure and winds, the climate and the climate and associated weather conditions in India are governed by the following atmospheric conditions. So in these particular pressure and winds, we can say pressure and surface winds, upper air circulation and western cyclonic disturbance and tropical cyclones. So India lies in the region of the northeasterly winds. These winds originate from the subtropical high pressure belt of the northern, okay, नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर। किस हेमिस्फीयर में? नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर के अंदर आता है, ठीक है, नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर। ओके, सो दे ब्लो साउथ, get deflected to the right due to the Coriolis forces. Which forces? Coriolis forces. Coriolis forces. Okay, so due to these forces, okay, the they blow south, get deflected to the right due to the Coriolis forces. Okay, and move on towards the equatorial low pressure area. Generally, these winds carry very little moisture as they originate and blow over land. Okay, therefore they bring little or no rain. Hence, India would have been an arid land, but it is not so. Let us, okay, so I would like to describe Coriolis force. So Coriolis force is nothing but an apparent forces caused by अर्थ रोटेशन की वजह से होता है, ड्यू टू अर्थ रोटेशन इट occurs. Okay, the Coriolis force is responsible for deflecting winds towards the right in the northern hemisphere and towards the left in the southern hemisphere. This is also known as the Farrell's law. Which law? Farrell's law. Farrell's law. Okay, this is also called Farrell's law. Now, the pressure and wind conditions over India are unique. During winter, there is a high pressure area north of the Himalayas. Cold, dry winds blow from this region to the low pressure area over the oceans to the south. In summer, a low pressure area develops over interior Asia as well as over northern India. This causes a complete reversal of the direction of the winds. During summer, air moves from the high pressure area over the southern Indian Ocean in southeasterly direction across the equator, thus right towards the low pressure area over the Indian subcontinent. These are known as southwest monsoon winds. Okay, so next is jet stream. So what do you mean by jet stream? So jet stream, so jet stream, the upper air circulation in this region is dominated by westerly flow. An important component of this flow is the jet stream. So this is component of waters, upper air circulation. Okay. Now these jet streams are located approximately over 27 degree to 30 degree north latitude. Therefore, they are known as the subtropical westerly jet stream. Subtropical westerly jet streams. Over India, these jet streams blow south of the Himalayas. Okay. Now, western cyclonic disturbance. Western cyclonic disturbance. The western cyclonic disturbance are weather phenomena of the winter months brought in by the westerly flow from the Mediterranean regions. They usually influence the weather of the north and northwestern regions of India. Tropical cyclones occur during the monsoons as well as in the October, November and are part of the easterly flow. These disturbances affect the coastal regions of the country. Have you read or heard about the disasters caused by them on Orissa and Andhra Pradesh coast? Okay, so this is all about western cyclonic disturbance. Now, next is to understand the mechanisms of the monsoon, the following facts are important. Means mechanisms of the monsoon. Okay, so what is the factors? Okay, of मतलब क्या mechanisms of the monsoon. The following facts are important. The following parts are important, and they are the differential heating and cooling of the land and water. Next is the shift of the position of the intertropical convergence zone ITCZ. Okay, and next is the east of Madagascar. Okay, the high pressure area east of Madagascar. Next is the Tibetan plateau gets intensely heated. Okay, next is the movement of the westerly jet stream to the north of the Himalayas and the presence of the tropical easterly jet stream over the Indian peninsula during summer. Okay, so these are the mechanisms. Okay, mechanisms of monsoon. Mechanisms of monsoon. Mechanisms of monsoon. Okay, so first is differential heating and cooling of the land and water. Next is the shift of position of the intertropical convergence zones ITCZ. ITCZ मतलब the shift of position of intertropical convergence zone. And next is the high pressure area east of Madagascar. The Tibetan plateau gets intensely heated. Now next is the movement of the westerly jet stream to the north of the Himalayas and the presence of tropical easterly jet streams over the Indian Peninsula during summer. Okay, so this is about. Now next I would like to cover ITCZ. ITCZ means intertropical ITCZ. ITCZ means intertropical convergence zone. The intertropical convergence zone is a broad trough of low pressure in equatorial latitudes. This is where the northeast and the southeast trade winds converge. Okay, these convergence zones lies more or less parallel to the equator but moves north or south with the apparent movement of the sun. Okay, so this is important. Now I would like to cover El Nino. El Nino, what do you mean by El Nino? El Nino. So El Nino is the name given to the periodic development of warm ocean currents along the coast of Peru as a temporary replacement of the cold Peruvian current. El Nino is a Spanish word meaning the child and refers to the baby Christ. As the current starts flowing during Christmas, the presence of the El Nino leads to an increase in surface temperature and weakening of the trade winds in the regions. Okay, so this is all about El Nino. This is name given to the periodic development of a warm current. Okay, warm current. Okay. Warm current, okay, along with the coast of Peru as a temporary replacement of the cold Peruvian current. El Nino is a Spanish word meaning the child, and refers to the baby Christ. As this current starts flowing during Christmas, the presence of El Nino leads to an increase in sea surface temperature and weakening of the trade winds in the region. Okay, see, so this is all about El Nino. Now now Mausinram, the wettest place on the earth, is also reputed for its stalagmite and stalactite caves. That is Mausinram, the wettest place. That is the wettest place. Okay. Now so this is the end of the chapter, and next I would like to move further chapter, that is natural vegetation and wildlife. Okay, natural vegetation and wildlife. So in this chapter we will discuss many natural things and their protection. Natural vegetation. Okay, natural vegetation and wildlife. Natural vegetation and wildlife. Okay, so I will only cover important concept and terms so that you will you will easy grasp and memorize the things, because sometimes especially in prelims examination, you know, you have you already have studied a lot of things, but at that moment or at that time you are unable to recognize, you are unable to recall those concept and facts. Okay, so my courses my I am trying, I will trying to I will try to cover only those concept and terms uh, which you can easily recall, okay, later. So in this, the virgin vegetation which are purely Indians are known as the endemic or indigenous species, but those which have come from outside India are termed as exotic plants. So my dear friends, here two things are important. One things are virgin vegetation. Okay, VIR, virgin vegetation. Virgin vegetation. One is virgin vegetation. What do you mean by virgin vegetation? So virgin vegetation means the type of vegetation which are purely Indian, which are purely Indian. So virgin means purely Indian. Either it may be plants or animals. Okay, and next, okay, and are known as endemic or indigenous species. It is also called endemic, endemic or indigenous. Indigenous means those plants or animals which have origin in India, which have origin in India. Second things, exotic plants or animals, exotic plants and animals. So exotic means those plants or animals which have origin from anywhere else. It means uh, except of India, their origins may be in different country. Okay, so exotic means outside India, means outside India, in terms of India. Okay, in terms of, अगर हम लोग इंडिया में रहते हैं तो इंडिया के कंटेक्स्ट में अगर बात करें तो कोई भी स्पेसिस, एनी स्पेसिस whose origins are outside India are called exotic plants or exotic animals. Okay, so this is all about exotic plants. Okay, now so in 2001 the actual forest cover in India was 20.55%. 2001 20.55%, 20.55%. This is area, this is actual forest cover in India. Okay, this is actual forest cover. Okay, forest cover percentage of India. For this is forest cover. Okay, this is forest cover. Okay, now types of vegetation. So types of vegetation: tropical evergreen forest. Types of vegetation are tropical vegetation, tropical evergreen forest, tropical deciduous forest, tropical thorn forest and scrub forest, mountain forest and mangrove forest. Mangrove forest. Okay, types of vegetation. Types of vegetation. Types of vegetation. Types of vegetation: tropical evergreen. Tropical evergreen. tropical evergreen forest, tropical deciduous forest. Next is tropical tropical thorn, okay, tropical thorn forest and scrubs. Mountain mountain forest and mangrove forest. Mangrove forest, mangrove forest. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 types of vegetation. Okay, so in detail I will cover. Okay, but in this session I will cover in only important terms and concept. Okay, so that you will be recall later. Okay, you will be easily recall later. Okay, so study the okay. What will happen if plants and animals disappear from the earth's surface? Can the human being survive under such situation? Why is biodiversity necessary and why should it be conserved? So you have to think about it. You have to think about it. Okay. And next thing is medicinal plants. Okay. In India is known for its herbs and spices from ancient times. Some 2000 plants have been described in Ayurveda, and at least 500 are in regular use. The World Conservation Union's Red List has named 352 medicinal plants, of which 52 are critically threatened and 49 endangered. The commonly used plants in India are Sarpagandha, used to treat blood pressure. It is found only in India. Jamun, the juice from ripe fruit, is used to prepare vinegar, which is carminative and diuretic and has digestive property. The powder of the seed is used for controlling diabetes. Arjun, the fresh juice of leaves, is a cure for earache. It is also used to regulate blood pressure. Babul leaves are used as a cure for eye sores. Its gum is used as a tonic. Neem. Neem has high antibiotic and antibacterial property. Tulsi plant is used to cure cough and cold. Kachnar. It is used to cure asthma and ulcers. The buds and roots are good for digestive problems. Identify more medicinal plants in your area. Which plants are used as medicines by local people to cure some diseases? Okay. So this is all about medicinal plants. Okay. Now let's move to further 14 bioreserves. So these are the bioreserves, and one thing is migratory birds. Some of the wetlands of India are popular with migratory birds. During the winter, birds such as Siberian crane come in large number, and one such place favorable with birds is the Run of Kutch. At a place where the desert merge with the sea, flamingo with their brilliant pink plumage come in thousands to build nest mounds from the salty marsh and raise their young ones. It is one among many extraordinary sights in the country. It is not a rich natural heritage of ours. Sundarbans, now 14 bioreserves, that is Sundarbans, uh, Gulf of Mannar, the Nilgiris, Nanda Devi, Nokrek, Great Nicobar, Mannas, Simlipal, Dihang, Dibang, Dibru, Saikhova, Agastmalai, Kanchanjunga, Panchamadi, Achanakmar, Amarkantak. Okay, so these are the forest 14 bioreserves. Okay, now this is end of this chapter. Okay, so next is population. Next chapter is population. Next is population. Okay, so in this I will cover population size and distribution, population growth and process of population change, characteristics or quality of the population. So these are the things. Population size and distribution. India's population size and distribution by numbers. So I think these data are not important, so I will skip these things. Okay, now on census 2000, I think a census is an official enumeration of population done periodically in India. The first census was held in the year 1872. The first complete census, however, was taken in the year 1881, and since then census have been held regularly every 10th year. In India, census is most comprehensive source of demographic, social, and economic data. Have you ever seen a census report? Check in your library and you can report it. Okay. Okay. So annual growth rate. What do you mean by annual growth rate? So the rate or the pace of population increase is the other important aspect, and it is studied in the percent per annum. For example, rate of increase of 2% per annum means that in a given year there was an increase of 2% for every 100% in the base population. This is referred to as annual growth rate. Okay. So and process of population change I already dictate or taught you in previous classes. Okay, so these are the birth rate, death rate, migration, and migration may be internal or international. Okay, internal means suppose migration done from a state to one state to another state, so this is internal. And international means suppose someone migrate from India to Bangladesh, India to Pakistan, India to Sri Lanka, India to USA, etc. Okay, so these are the international migration. Okay, and now sex ratio. What do you mean by sex ratio? Sex ratio is defined as the number of females per 1000 males. Means in 1000 males, how many number of females are there? Okay, so that is called sex ratio. Okay, now literacy rate means important quality of population. Okay, literacy is also important quality of population. Means literacy means you are able to write or read. Okay, this is how we can say literacy. Okay, next thing. Okay, next is occupational structure, and occupational structure, that is primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, so these are the occupational structure, and this is the classification of this occupation. Okay, now okay, now health, adolescent population, national population. So all the data are outdated. Okay, so you can escape it. Okay, because these facts and figures are very old, and these are the no use. in recent times. So some glossary are there, okay, which are important, okay, and I will make you understand one by one, okay. So first thing is adolescence. What do you mean by adolescence? Adolescence is a period in which person is no longer child, and means after child you may be adolescents, okay, not yet an adult. Such persons are grouped in the age group of 10 to 19 years, okay. Adolescent means 10 to 19 years, okay. Next is alluvial plains. Alluvial plains means a level tract of land made up of alluvial or fine rock materials brought down by river. Base population, the total population of an area at the beginning of a given time period. Now, biome, plant community. Biome means plant community occurring in distinct groups in area having similar climatic conditions, okay. So biome means plant community occurring in distinct groups in areas having similar climatic condition. Birth rate, the number of live birth for every 1,000 persons in a year. Now depression, in meteorology it denotes an area of relatively low atmospheric pressure which is found mainly in temperature regions. In geology, it refers to a hollow sunken area of the earth's surface. Death rate, the number of deaths per 1,000 persons in year. Now density of population, okay. The average number of persons per unit area. Density of population, the average number of persons per unit area such as a square kilometers. Dependency ratio, the ratio of people of dependent age, that is below 15 and above 16 years of age, to people of economically active age, that is 15 to 59 years of age. Now ecosystem, a system which comprises the physical environment and the organisms living therein. Environment, surroundings or conditions under which a person or thing exists and people develops his or its character, okay. It covers both physical and cultural elements. Fault, a linear break in rocks of the earth crust along which there has been a displacement in horizontal, vertical or oblique direction. Now fauna, the animal life of a given area. Flora, the total vegetation or plant cover of an area. Fold, a bend in the rock strata resulting from the compression of an area of the earth crust. Geosyncline, a narrow, shallow, elongated basins with the sinking bottom in which a considerable thickness of sediments was deposited by the rivers coming from the Angara and Gondwana lands. Glacier, a mass of snow and ice that moves slowly under the influence of gravity along a confined course away from its place of accumulation. Growth rate of population, the growth rate of population indicates that the rate at which the population is growing. In estimating the growth rate, the increase in population is compared with the base population. It can be measured annually or over a decade. Indian mainland, it refers to the contiguous stretch of landmass from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh. Indian Standard Time, Indian drainage, the local time along the standard meridians of India, 82.82 and 30° east. Okay. Indian drainage system in which the waters of the rivers do not reach the oceans but fall into an inland sea or lake. Now next is igneous rocks. Igneous rocks means rocks formed as a result of solidification of magma either below the earth's surface or above it. Lagoon, a saltwater lake separated from the sea by the sandbars and speeds. Lake, a body of water that lies in a hollow in the earth's surface and is entirely surrounded by land. Lithospheric plates, large segments of the earth's crust composed of continental and oceanic lithospheric parts floating above the asthenosphere. Life expectancy, the average number of years one is expected to live. Local time, the time or place determined by the midday sun is called the local time. Metamorphic rocks, deformation and alteration of pre-existing igneous and sedimentary rocks as a result of change in physical and chemical conditions due to intense heat or pressure. Migration. Migration, movement of people from one place to another. Migration, movement of people from one place to another. Internal migration means movement of people within a country, and external migration means movement of people between countries. When people come to a country from another country, it is called immigration, and when they leave the country, it is called immigration. Okay. Now millions plus cities. Million plus cities with a population of more than 1 million or 10 lakh. Monsoon, a complete reversal of winds over a large area leading to a change of season. Mountain, an upward projected features of the earth surface that rises to a high altitude and usually forges steep slopes. National park, a reserve area for preserving its natural vegetation, wildlife and the natural environment. Plain, an extensive area of flat sorry plain and extensive area of flat or gently undulated land. Plateau, an extensive elevated area of relatively flat land. Plate tectonics, that scientist concept that explain the movement of the crust plates. Relief, the difference in elevations or physical outlines of the land surface or ocean floor. Subsidence, in meteorology it is downward movement of the air. Subsidence, in meteorology it is upward movement it is downward movement of the air. In geology it refers to the sinking of portion of the earth's surface. Sinking of a portions of the earth's surface. Sedimentary rocks, rocks composed of sediments and generally having a layered structure. Sex ratio is defined as the number of females per thousand males. Subcontinent, a big landmass which extends out as a distinct geographical unit from the rest of the continent. Tectonic, forces originating within the earth and responsible for bringing a widespread change in the landforms features. Young mountains, the fold mountains formed during the most recent major phase of the folding in the earth crust. So this is end of class 9th geography and I will cover 10th geography. चलिए अब क्लास 10th का एनसीईआरटी शुरू करते हैं ज्योग्राफी का, ठीक है। और पहला चैप्टर है रिसोर्स एंड डेवलपमेंट। क्या है? पहला चैप्टर है रिसोर्स एंड डेवलपमेंट। resource and development. Resource and development क्या है? Resource and development. So everything available in our surround environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provide it is technological accessible, economical feasible, and culturally acceptable can be termed as resource. So first I would like to define a resource. Okay, so resource is anything, okay, which satisfied, okay, demands of our needs, satisfied the demands of the need, satisfy the demands of or demands or need of people, okay. Satisfy the demands or needs of people, okay, that is resource, or you can say utility of anything, of any materials is called resources. It may be, okay, it may be technological accessibility, it may be economical feasibles, okay, and it may be culturally acceptable, okay. So and culturally acceptable and terms, okay. So exactly we can define resources, okay, the material which satisfy the demands or the needs of the people, which may be or which provide technological accessible, economical feasible, and culturally acceptable, okay. So there should be all these things including satisfying the demands and needs of the people, okay. So this is all about resource, okay. Now and now independent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. So human beings, you can write here human beings, okay, this is human beings, and this you can write physical environment, okay, and physical environment may be nature, okay. Now you can write over here technology, and you can write over here institution. So there is a relation between human beings in physical environment, technology, and institution, okay. So these are the interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. So this is important things which you have to keep in your mind, okay. Now the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. Human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development, okay. So this is all about relationship between human beings, nature, and technology, and institution. Because when human beings develop themselves and use natural things or they transform from environment, involves an interdependent relationship between nature, technology and institution. ह्यूमन बींग्स इंटरेक्ट विद नेचर। सबसे पहले तो जो ह्यूमन बींग है नेचर के साथ इंटरेक्ट करता है बाय द हेल्प ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, by the help of technology and create institution to develop economic conditions, to develop economic conditions. So do you think that nature's that resources are free gifts of nature as it is assumed by many? Okay, yes, however it is right things, or it is right true that nature is a free gift, but you should not assume it like this, okay, because you should value it, you should value it. They are not resources, are functions of human activity. Human beings themselves are activity, human beings themselves are essential components of resources. They transform material available in our environment into resources and use them. These resources can be classified in the following ways. So on the basis of origin, on the basis of origin, okay. On the basis of origin, so resources can be divided on the basis of origin, that is biotic and abiotic. Next, on the basis of exhaustibility, that is renewable energy, renewable and non-renewable. And the third one is on the basis of ownership, that is individuals and individuals, community and national, international, okay. On the basis of a status of development potential, okay, potential, developed, stock and reserves, okay. So classification of resources, classification of resources, classification of resources, classification of resources are, it may be natural, second one is human, man you can say, okay. And natural, it may be renewable and non-renewable, okay. Further, renewable may be continuous, okay, or flow or wind, okay, or water. And next one is biological, okay. Further, biological may be classified as natural vegetation, okay, that is forest and wildlife, okay. Now further, we can classify non-renewable is as recyclable and non-recyclable, okay. So non-renewable energy are cyclable, okay, and non-cyclable means recyclable, okay, recyclable, and second one is non-recyclable, okay, that is fossil fuels. And recyclable may be metals, Next one is human resources, that is a structure and institution, quantity and quality, a structure and institution, structure, structure and institution. Okay. Next one is quality and quality, quantity. Okay. So these are the human resources. Okay. Is it clear? So this is all about classification of resources. Okay. Let us move further. So types of resources, types of resources, types of resources. Okay. So on the basis of origin, on the basis of origin, you can say resources are biotic resources, no, biotic resources or abiotic resources, abiotic resources. Okay. So on the basis of origin, resources may be biotic and non-biotic or abiotic. Okay. Biotic means which is related to living things. Okay. And abiotic means which is related with non-living things are called abiotic resources. On the basis of exhaustibility, on the basis of exhaustibility, the classification of resources are renewable and non-renewable. Okay. So what do you mean by renewable resources? So those resources which can be renewed is called renewable resources. Okay. Anything which can be renewed. Okay. Anything which can be renewed. Okay. Or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical process are known as renewable or replenishable resources. For example, solar and wind energy, water, forest and wildlife, etc. So all these are the renewable source. Okay. Next one is non-renewable sources. Those resources which cannot be renewed, over a very long geological time. So minerals and fossil fuels are example of such resources. These resources take millions of years in their formation. So some of the resources like metals and are recyclable, and sometimes some like fossil fuels cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. So next one is on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, resources may be individual resources. Okay. So individual resources which are also owned by privately or individual persons. It may be many farmers who had their own lands which is allotted to them by the government against the payment of revenue. Okay. In village there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless. Okay. Are urban owned. Okay. So this is individuals, or you can say individual resources. Next one is community owned resources. Community owned resources. So community owned resources means the resources which is come under common people or community. Okay. Or any class range or any group. Okay. So these are the community owned resources. There are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community: village commons, grazing grounds, burial grounds, village ponds, etc. Public parks, picnic spots and playgrounds in urban areas are de facto accessible to all the peoples living there. Next one is national resources. National resources, technically all the resources belong to the nation. Next one is national resources. National resources. So technically it is so technically all the resources belong to the nation. Okay, the country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public goods. You might have seen roads, canals, railways being constructed on fields owned by some individuals. Urban Development Authority gets empowered by the government to acquire land, all the materials, all the minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, and within the political boundary, an oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, 19.2 kilometers from the coast, downside the territory, water and resources therein belong to the nation. Okay. Next one is international resources. Next one is international resources. Next one is international resources. So what do you mean by international resources? There are international institutions which regulate some resources. The oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zones belong to open ocean, and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. So these are the types of resources. Okay. Now next is, so before that I would like to cover that India has got the right to mine manganese nodules from the bed of the Indian Ocean from that area which lies beyond the exclusive economic zone. Identify some other resources which are international in nature. Okay. Now next one is on the basis of a status of development. On the basis of a status of development. So on the basis of a status of development, that may be potential resources, developed resources, and stock resources. Okay. Okay. So on the basis of a status of development, a status of development, a status of development. So on the basis of a status of development, that may be potential resources. Okay. Second one is developed resources. Next one is stock. Okay. Now, so on the basis of a status of development, potential resources are resources which are found in regions but have not been utilized. For example, the western parts of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for the development of wind, okay, and solar energy, but so far these have not been developed properly. Okay. Now next is developed or resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. The development of resources depends on technology and level of their feasibility. Okay. Now next is the stock, materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access these, are included among stocks. Okay. For example, water is a compound of two inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen, which can be used as a rich source of energy, but we do not have the required technical knowledge how to use them for this purpose. So it can be considered as stocks. Now reserves. Reserves are subset of stocks which can be put into use with the help of existing reserve. Okay, so this is subset of stock which can be put into use with the help of existing technical know-how, but their use has not been started. Okay, these can be used for meeting future requirement, future requirement, meeting future requirement, meeting future requirements. So river water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent. So the water in the dams, forest, is reserves which can be used in the future. Okay, so this is all about reserves. Okay, now next is development of resources. How we can develop our resources by the help of many things. It may be develop technology, it may be mindset, it may be management. Okay, so all these things may be. Okay, means there should be proper planning, there should be proper management. Okay, so by the help of technology you can develop the resources. So my dear friends, development of resources. Development of resources. So resources are vital for human survivals as well as for maintaining the quality of life. It was believed that resources are free gifts of nature. As a result, human beings use them indiscriminately, and this has led to the following major problems. Okay, means without any discrimination, human use natural resources, but the consequences or the result will be people facing many problems by this. Okay, so what problems people facing, I I am discussing over here one by one. First one is depletion of resources. First one is depletion of resources. First one is depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. So you should only use for certain amount of quantity. Okay, so that there may not be lacking of that resources. Okay, so this is all about depletion of resources. Okay, next is accumulation of resources. Second one is accumulation of resources. So what do you mean by accumulation of resources? In few hands, which in turn divides the society into two segments, that have and have nots, or rich and poor. Okay, so accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turns divide the society into two segments, that is haves and not haves, or rich and poor. So there will be created a discrimination between, or you can say there may be created gaps between high to low. High in the sense elite, or low in the sense poor, or destitute, underprivileged. Okay, so that should be underprivileged. Okay, now indiscriminate exploitations of resources. Indiscriminate exploitations of resources has led a global ecological crisis such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradations. So these are the problems faced by the peoples after uh, uh, unnecessarily use of resources. Okay. Okay. Now, next thing is an equitable distribution of resources has become essentially for sustained quality of life and global okay essential for sustained quality of life and global peace. If the present trends of resources depletion by few individuals and countries continue, the future of our planet is in danger. Therefore, resources planning is essential for sustainable existence of all the forms of life. Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. Sustainable development, sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. Means the development should not compromise with only with the present scenario. Means you have also focus on future generation. You should take care of those resources for the utility of the future generation. Okay. So this is all about sustainable development. So next one is Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. Rio de Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit. Earth Summit 1992. 1992. Okay. So in June 1992, more than 100 heads of states met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. Okay, the summit was convened convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. The assembled leaders signed the declarations on global climatic changes and biological diversity. The Rio Conventions endorsed the Global Forest Principle and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in 21st century. Agenda 21, it is a declaration signed by world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED, okay, which took place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It is aims at achieving global sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperations on common interest, mutual needs, and shared responsibility. One major objective of the Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. So this is all about Agenda 21. Now, resource planning. What should be the resource planning? Means how to use, what should be the proper planning to utilization of resources. Okay. So if you have proper plan to use or utility of resources, then it may be a very wise use of resources. So resource planning. What should be resource planning? Okay. So planning is the widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. For judicious use of resources is extremely important, and it is also widely accepted strategy. Okay, it has importance. It has its importance And in a country like India, which has enormous diversity in the availability of resources, there are regions which are rich in certain types of resources but are deficient in some other resources. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, the states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Arunachal Pradesh has abundance of water resources but lacks in infrastructural development. The states of Rajasthan in very well endowed with solar and wind energy but lacks in water resources. Now prepare list of resources found in your states. Resource planning in India. Resource planning in a complex process which involves identification and inventory of resources across the regions of the country. This involves surveying, mapping and qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources, evolving a planning structures endowed with appropriate technology skills and institutional setup for implementing resources development plans. That is, matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. India has made connected efforts for achieving the goals of resources planning right from the first 5-year plan launched after independence. So, now conservation of resources. So, my dear friends, can you name some resources rich but economically backward regions and some resources poor but economically developed regions? Give reasons for such a situation. Means we have to write about on it. Okay. Now next is conservation of resources. So conservation of resources is also important. Means wisely accepted, wisely used of resources is important, and wisely use of resources is the main reasons or main cause of conservation of resources. So it should be main reasons of conservation of resources. Okay. So you should use wisely. You should use anything wisely so that it can be conserved for future generation for sustainable development. Okay. So my dear friends, this is extremely important things which you have to keep in your mind. Okay. Now land resources. So land resources is also important, and land utilization, it is 27% and 43% and 30%. That is 27% means plateau and 43% means plains and 30% means mountains. Means if you divide the whole earth, that it is 43% plains, 27% mountains and 30% plateaus are there. Okay. So land utilization. So what do you mean by land utilization? Are used for the following purpose: forest land utilization may be forest purpose, land not available for cultivation, barren and wasteland, land put to non-agriculture usage, example buildings, roads, factory, etc. Other uncultivated land excluding fallow land, permanent pastures and grazing land, land under miscellaneous tree crops, groves not included in net sown area, cultivable wasteland left uncultivated, cultivated for more than 5 agriculture years. Fallow lands, current fallow left without cultivation for 1 or less than 1 agricultural year. Other than current fallow left uncultivated for the past 1 to 5 agricultural years. Net sown area, area sown more than once in an agricultural year plus net sown area is known as gross cropped area. Land usage patterns in India. Okay, land use patterns in India. So the use of land is determined both by physical factors such as topography, climate, soil types, as well as human factors such as population density, technological capability, and cultural and traditional etc. So this is all about land use patterns in India. Now, next one is now one question, find out reasons for the low proportions of net sown area in these states. So forest area in the country is far lower than the desired 33% of the geographical area as it was outlined in the National Forest and Policy 1952. It was considered essential for maintenance of the ecological balance, the livelihood of millions of people who live on the fringes of these forests depends upon it. A part of the land is termed as the wasteland and land put to other non-agricultural uses. Wasteland includes rocky, arid and desert area, and land put to other non-agricultural uses includes settlements, road, railways, industry, etc. Continuous use of land over a long period of time without taking appropriate measures to conserve and manage it has resulted in land degradations. This is in turn has serious repercussions on the society and environment. Land degradations and conservation measures. Soil as a resources. Soil is also a type of resources. Soil is also the most important renewable natural resources. It is medium of plant growth and support different types of living organisms on it. So this is soil profile. This is soil profile. I can write over here. Soil profile. Soil profile. Soil profile. This is topsoil. Topsoil. Okay. The upper soil layer. Upper soil layer. Okay. Next one is that is subsoil weathered. Subsoil weather. Okay. Rocks and sand and silt clay. Substratum. Next one is substratum. Substratum weather parent rock materials. Unweathered rock parent. Okay. Unweathered rock parent rock, bedrock, parent bedrock. Okay. Soil profile. Okay. So this is soil profile. Now classification of soils. So soil classification. Okay. So first is alluvial soils. Alluvial soil. Second one is okay. So common in pediment plains such as Dwars, Kos and Tarai. Okay, Khadar and Bangar. ठीक है. So classified as old alluvial, that is Bangar, and new alluvial, that is Khadar. Khadar. Okay. The Bangar soil has higher concentration of conker nodules than the Khadar. It has more than particles and it is more fertile than the Bangar. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. Mostly these soils contains adequate proportions of potash, uh, phosphoric acids and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereals pulse crops due to its high fertility. Regions of alluvial soils are intensely cultivated and densely populated. Soils in the drier areas are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. Next one is black soil. Next one is black soil. So what do you mean by black soil? These soils are black in color and are also known as regur soils. It is also because it is black, so it's called regur soils. Regur soils. Okay, so it is called regur soils. Black soil is ideal for growing cotton and is also known as black cotton soil. Black cotton soil. Black cotton soil. Black cotton soil. Okay. Ideal for growing cottons and is also known as black cotton soil. It is believed that climatic conditions along with the parent rock materials are the important factors for the formation of black soil. This type of soil is typical of the Deccan Trap basalt regions spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. They cover the plateaus of Maharashtra, so Saurashtra. Okay. So next one is red and yellow soils. Red and yellow soils. Red and yellow soil. Red and yellow soil. So what do you mean by red and yellow soils? So red soils develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. Yellow and red soils are also found in parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of Middle Ganga Plain and along with the Piedmont zone of the Western Ghats. Piedmont Ghats of Western Ghats. These soils develop a reddish color due to diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in hydrated form. Now next one is laterite soil. Laterite soil. So what do you mean by laterite soils? Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. Later कहाँ से आया है? Later से, Later. Later, which means brick. So it is brick color. So the laterite soil develops in area with high temperature and heavy rainfall. This is the result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Humus content of the soil is low because most of the microorganisms, particularly the decomposers like bacteria, get destroyed due to high temperature. Laterite soils are suitable for cultivations with adequate doses of manures and fertilizers. These soils are mainly found in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and hilly areas of Odisha and Assam. After adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques, particularly in the hilly area of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. This soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. Laterites in the Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Kerala are more suitable for crops like cashew nut. Arid soils range from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is very high, and common salt is obtained by evaporating the water. Due to the dry climate, high temperature evaporation is faster, and the soil lacks humus and moisture. The lower origins of the soils are occupied by conker because of the increasing calcium content downwards. The conker layer formation in the bottom horizons restrict the infiltration of water. After proper irrigation, these soils become cultivable, as has been in the case of western Rajasthan. Okay, now these forest soils, forest soil. So what is forest soil? So these soils are found in the hilly and mountainous areas where sufficient rain forests are available. Where sufficient rain forests are available, the soil's texture varies according to the mountain's environment where they are found. They are loamy and silty in valleys, sides, and coarse grained in the upper slopes in the snow-covered area of Himalayas. These soils experience denudation and acidic with low humus content. The soils found in the lower parts of the valley, particularly on the rivers, terrace, and alluvial plains are fertile. Soil erosions and soil conservation. The denudation of soil cover and subsequent washing downs is described as soil erosion. The process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously, and generally there is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to human activity like deforestation, overgrazing, constructions and mining etc. While natural forces like wind, glacier and water lead to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clay soils and makes deep channels as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as badland. In the Chambal basin, such as lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flows as a sheet over large areas, sound slopes. In such cases, the topsoil is washed away. This is known as the sheet erosions. Wind blows loose soils off flat or sloping and land known as the wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming. Soil erosion. Okay, so plowing in a wrong way, that is up and down to the slope from channels for the quick flow of water leading to the soil erosions. Plowing along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called the contour plowing. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making terrace cultivation restrictive. Erosion. Erosions western and central Himalayas have well developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. Strips of grasses are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the forces of the wind. This method is known as a strip cropping. Planning lines of the